Hey everyone, my name is Fisimpio. I was with team 12179 through Chanka, and in this little brief video I'm going to explain a couple of things. I'm going to explain the difference between a teleop and autonomous in terms of coding. I'm also going to show you how to start a basic autonomous mode and to make sure that it is legal for competition. So to start off, you're going to create a new op mode, and we'll name it auto for right now. And there's a couple things you can delete here if you want. For example, this repeat loop, it's unnecessary. You don't need it if you don't want. I'm going to delete it just because it's going to make this look a little cleaner. The second thing is you can switch this to autonomous, or not, it's not even you can switch, you have to switch it, because in competition, your codes must be separated between their teleop and autonomous, because if not, they won't allow you to use that code. That is one of the requirements in order for this to be competition legal. The second thing is this wait for start has to be there, because when starting up a code, you must double press the start button in order for it to get it running. And without this little wait for start here, it'll automatically just go on the first press, which is illegal because you're starting before the timer. And the reasoning behind it is because some codes like Vuforia and other visual detection software requires a little bit of startup time in order for it to be fully ready. And if all the codes just start initialized, they're all starting at the same time, and it's completely fair. Now, in terms of differences in coding, for example, in a teleop, you would normally set your power to either a button or a stick. And the reason for this is because, it allows you to control how much power is actually being fed into your motor. But in a autonomous, it's a little bit different. So instead of setting your powers to stick, your powers are set to either 1 or 0 or some other number between. 1 being 100% power, so full power, and 0 meaning no power at all. The reason they do this is because, in autonomous, you're not allowed to hold your controller, so you can't really, input anything. So everything is just done automatically. The second thing is, if you actually want your code to perform this action for a set amount of time, you would travel up here to the linear out mode and get this sleep. What this sleep does is whatever piece of code is presented before it, so for example, this back left and front left, it's going to perform, or it's going to loop this action for this amount of time. So for example, this is 1,000 milliseconds, which is the same as 1 second. 2,000 would be 2 seconds, 3 seconds, kind of stuff like that. The same kind of goes for your servos. So instead of saying if A is pressed, set servo to 1, if B is pressed, set servo to 0, you would set a servo to 1, and then you copy this, and now this servo is going to hold this position for 1 second. If you wanted to continue holding this position with other pieces of code, you would drag whatever code you needed and proceeded to hold that position. So this code right now, in the way that we have it, would move these two motors for 1 second, get this position, get the servo position for 1 second, and then it would move the back left motors and hold that servo position for a second. Now, in order to make your code stop, you would have to duplicate all moving, motors or servos or whatever you have going, and you'd have to set all the powers to 0. And then you'd have to set the sleep time to some ridiculous amount, some ridiculous number, like 10,000 or something. And this is all assuming that this code is going to be 30 seconds exact. But if your code is a little bit shorter than that, so for example, like 25 seconds, what you can do is this exact, scenario here, and where in the last piece of code, you set it to some ridiculous amount of time. That way it stops and doesn't move. However, if it has a tendency to go over for some reason, on your actual driver station, there is a little timer button, and you click on that, and then it says 30. That means 30 seconds when the code starts. that means when your code is moving and if for some reason messes up and continues to move, your phone will automatically stop your code. That way, you don't get any penalties for your team. And, that's all I have to say right now. If you want to learn more in depth about Vuforia and some other types of visual detection software, you can watch the next video that'll be uploaded onto this channel. And thanks so much.